Ladies and gentlemen, I regret to inform you, well, don't really regret to inform you, but Snow White is officially the worst movie of all time on IMDb. As it sits right now, and the last time that I checked, it dipped down for a second to 1.6, but as it rests with 145,000 reviews, Snow White, Disney's remake in the year of our Lord 2025, is in fact the worst reviewed movie at its price point. And honestly, do I think that they're being hyperbolic? Is this getting blown out of proportion? Not really. Like, it is pretty ass, okay? Is it the worst movie ever? I'm sure that there's there's probably some indie fare that's out there that's just absolute dog water. Like, if you were to earnestly watch The Room, Birdemic, or any one of those schlock films that, if you watch it as an unintended comedy, is hilarious. But yeah, there's probably worse movies that are out there. But for one that costs upwards of $300 million, yeah, you're not going to find slop like this. And movies like this only come around every once in a while. And it's so funny, right? Because is it really that much of a step down from other fare that has been out there from Disney? It is a marked step down, but is it that much of a bigger atrocity than The Little Mermaid, than Seeing Red, Captain Black Falcon, America Man? No, it's a lacking a forward thrust in the plot. The characters are completely and totally underdeveloped. There's an insufferable girl boss in all of these. So yeah, it's basically the same standard formula. Just this one, it ended up taking it up to a next level, okay? It reached the stratosphere, it hit the zeitgeist, unlike the rest of that stuff, okay? And that's what led to this 1.7, okay? Because we've known, and the people who've been tracking this stuff and following along for a while kind of know that Rachel Zegler is about, and this isn't hyperbole, okay? This isn't, I'm sure there are some people that are out there, there's probably some serial killers or something who are worse, but Rachel Zegler is like a top tier piece of shit. Like, there's actually nothing redeemable about this chick. She is the dirt worst on just about every metric that you could possibly quantify. She's awful, okay? But if it just simply stayed with an insufferable lead actress, it wouldn't have got this 1.7 on IMDb. It wouldn't have got this level of backlash. There is something that really took this and just ratcheted the hatred for this movie up just a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and point to something I don't think a lot of people are talking about. Because I hear some people saying, oh, the big backlash is all because of Rachel Zegler and because people finally shined a light on that. It's like, okay, cool. She disrespected the source material. I mean, Marvel's been doing that for like a decade. Nobody's pointing any fingers over there. No, she said some unsavory stuff. Oh, she's a part of the Free Palestine movement. It's like, oh, okay, cool. So we're just going to go ahead and throw just about every other Hollywood production under the bus. Yeah, I think we're kind of missing out on something. But some people are at least cluing into the fact that, Disney's writing and this movie's really bad. Okay, like, yeah, the movie's bad, but why would that lead to such catastrophic box office numbers, which we're going to take a look at because, bro, they're really bad. They're even worse than what I thought was going to be an uncharitable comparison. And yeah, it's worse than that. So how do you explain such an abysmal opening weekend? Well, Disney does play a big part in this, but if you recall and you cast your mind back to, what was that, the end of last year, when they released that first trailer, when they showed off those CGI dwarves, that was probably the thing. I believe that was the flashpoint that let people know. It's like, what is Disney doing out here? Why can't you just have dwarves? These are, unironically, some of the most iconic characters in Disney's entire catalog. Like, those dwarves, like Dopey, Doc, Grumpy, they're right up there with like Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, and Donald. Not me, but hey man, the duck's got a quack. Those dwarves are iconic, more so than Snow White. And the fact that you take them out of the title, the fact that you replace what could have been really interesting live action interpretations and just simply put CGI slop up there, and they were so horrifying, that kicked this into the next level. People looking at this going, oh my God, if that's such a disaster, what else is going on? And then what everybody else was talking about on the internet started to break into the mainstream, and this just simply ended up being the perfect storm of a disaster, which is leading to this film, even right now, heading into its second week in the box office, which, you know what? It's going to be, for the second weekend in a row, the #1 film in the world, but no competition. And then when Minecraft comes in and offers a slight amount of pushback, which not even that is tracking all that well, it'll do good. It'll do better than Snow White, but if I put a movie in theaters right now, it would probably do better than Snow White because, yeah, it is right now, it's underperforming the projections, and we get the box office that's right here. And yeah, I touched on this with one of the videos that came out because we had the numbers. $2.5 million on its first Monday. That's atrocious. But hey, at least it got up to $4 million on Cheap Tuesday. So yeah, more people went out. And at least as it sits right now, obviously. And I think maybe by the time that you guys see this video, you might have the numbers for Thursday, but it's very likely. Hell, I would say it would. It's all but a certainty that it's going to be in the $1 million club on its first Thursday. This weekend is going to be horrendous, absolutely atrocious, because here's the thing, man. Unlike Little Mermaid that Disney just refused to take out of theaters, it eventually crossed that $400 million mark. Funny how history tends to repeat itself. Captain Black Falcon America, man. But yeah, that film at least had tepid word of mouth. It wasn't any better than Snow White, and hell, it was, from a writing and character work standpoint, it was the blueprint that Snow White just simply followed. It's just Halle Bailey is just nowhere near as insufferable as Rachel Zegler. Very few people are. And so, yeah, as something that people could reliably take their kids to go see, even though it was like 2.5 hours long and would have bored them to tears, it didn't get that same amount of hate. Yeah, it was funny to just point, and it's like, oh, cool, the only way that they can make a black person swim is by putting fins on them. That's kind of funny. That was about it, okay? Like, Halle Bailey didn't go out there and start attacking people by saying, oh, see, what's wrong? Why can't Ariel be black? Why can't we have a black Little Mermaid? She didn't do any of that stuff. She just collected her paycheck, just smiled and waved at the audience, and hell, if she could go ahead and view everybody in the theater, she didn't even need to turn her head. Good for her on that. And, you know, we haven't heard a hide nor hair from her after that sit-down interview with Rachel Zegler that we went over as well. That was also hilarious. But yeah, its second week didn't have that much of a drop-off, at least from what I recall. And yeah, it eventually came out. It still lost money, but it crossed $400 million. So to some smooth brains that are out there that think that the studio gets back all the money it makes at theater, so it was a profitable film, there's no way they're going to be able to spin that for Snow White, because we're eventually going to see, thanks to UK tax law, we're going to see the receipts on this film, how much it ultimately did cost, and it's going to get nowhere near that production budget, let alone marketing, let alone actual movie math, because this weekend, bro, the way that it's projecting, it's gonna be horrific. But like I said, okay, the comparisons that I was making, because I thought I put it out there early, okay, is it possible, is it somewhere in the realm of possibility that Snow White could end up performing as bad as the Marvels? Well, here's the thing, man, okay, and you can see, underperformed projections, and, well, you take a look at the domestic box office, and you take a look at that first week, and, yeah, the first Monday, it was like, oh my god, 2.3 million, and you take a look at Snow White, and we run it back right there, and, oh, it did a little bit better on the Monday, but you take a look at that Tuesday and Thursday, or rather, Tuesday and Wednesday, that entire total, 53 million 5 compared to Snow White's 50 all in. Oh, it's actually tracking behind the Marvels. Oh shit, we have the potential that Snow White is going to be even lower performing than the Marvels. But hey guys, like I said, Snow White to maintain fairest of them all status, because week 2, well, it promises to have a $17 to $25 million opening week, or I'm sorry, second weekend. Oh shit, projected to drop 53% or more in second weekend at the box office. Yeah, that's not great, because you remember the last projections going into the final weekend was somewhere in on and around $40 million. What did it end up doing? Exactly. Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, and we'll get into their scuffle tomorrow, because that right there, if you thought I was a little harsh by saying that Rachel Zegler is about the worst person in the world, I'll give a better context to that tomorrow, because the people that actually know her and have been close to her, yeah, they can back up those claims. Embattled Disney's adaptation of the studio's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is looking at a 53% drop or more in box office business from opening weekend. like, I would be shocked if it was only 53%, because you take a look at other Disney fare, and especially if you can make a one-to-one comparison with well, you can't go with any other big studios within Disney's umbrella. The only one that you can draw on is Marvel, because Dial of Destiny was the last one the Lucasfilm put out. But even, Captain America, Captain Black Falcon America, man, it had an anemic opening weekend, and it ended up dropping with the standard Marvel drop of, 69 nice percent? So yeah, 53, that would be a charity case. Already suffering from damaging pre-release publicity, including fervor over Rachel Zegler's negative comments about the original animated classics and politically divisive social media posts, Disney's opening domestic gross of $42.2 million for Snow White fell far short of early pre-release projections. Adding insult to box office injury. The Snow White's reported 250 to 270, I've heard higher than that, production budget, a staggering amount before the film's market cost. If Disney was planning on chipping away at the massive amount it took out to make the live-action Snow White, it apparently isn't going to get much help from moviegoers this weekend. Heading into the weekend, Snow White is projected to drop 53% bidness in its second Friday to Sunday frame from its opening weekend, which equates to roughly $20 million, according to Deadline. Some other outlets are casting a wider net for the second weekend. Box Office Pro, which estimates the film could earn anywhere between, like we've seen here, 17 to 25 million. So they're going ahead and they're massively hedging their bets like a bunch of those early projections. While the 25 million figure does seem optimistic, incredibly so, the knife cuts both ways for Snow White, since Box Office Pro is suggesting it could bring in 3 million less in its second weekend than Deadline projecting. Because I don't know how this film, outside of just a lack of competition, which again, Hollywood, the movie making industry is not entitled to your money. Like, these aren't people that's like, oh my God, I have to go to the theater. I have to fill up those chairs because somebody has to. Nobody's out there doing that, outside of a couple of sickos, but we don't count them. They're too busy still making love to their Dune Part 2 popcorn bucket. But no, these movies have to talk people into the theaters. Nobody's doing that with Snow White. There is nobody giving this film any positive cred. There is not one review out there that, outside of going, well, Rachel Zegler can sing, like, there's no reason that anybody should be going to this film. I have not heard one compelling argument at all whatsoever. It looks like shit. It's directed like ass. It was edited by somebody that was hopped up on caffeine pills and Monster. Gal Gadot is finally being properly recognized as the atrocious actress she has always been. And the plot makes no goddamn sense. There's no reason to go see this film. So yeah, I would be over the moon, okay, if this film does anything north of $20 million this weekend. It's going to be hilarious to look back on it on probably Tuesday or something like that. I'd imagine that's probably when I'll do my update on it. But as it sits right now, yeah, you're going to be the best performing film of the weekend. But at this point in time, what the hell does that even mean? And how does that end up reflecting on Hollywood? Well, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, and in Rachel Zegler's case, you get a stupid haircut. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.